Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to be talking about water propagation, and I know a lot of people have a lot of questions on it, so we're just going to briefly go over the process of how to water propagate, and then we're going to briefly cover some of the benefits of water propagation, and then we have some examples to show you. And of course, if you guys have any questions about water propagation, you can comment below.
Propagation is essentially using water to encourage root growth on plants. It is not to be confused with growing plants in water. This is just to encourage root growth for plants so you can plant them in soil or moss or whatever planting medium later.
Alright, so whenever you start water propagation, the first thing you're going to want to do is get your container. It can be any kind of container. It can be a vase, it can be a coffee cup, it could be anything you can use that'll let the roots grow down and the leaves come up and get sunshine. You're going to want to clean it and sterilize it and make sure that there's no residue or film or anything on it before you put water in. We, in this house, tend to prefer purified water just because we use glass, and with the glass, the calcium can build up with tap water.
At this point, you're going to go ahead and you're going to take whatever cutting of your plant that you have, and if you want to apply some rooting hormone, you can do, it needs to be a very little. You're going to use rooting hormone. You can either place it on the nodes of the plant, or you can place it on the bottom of the stem. If you're going to use rooting, if you're going to use rooting hormone, definitely do research on using nutrients in addition to that, because you can cause nutrient lockout with your plants. Whenever you place your plant cutting into water, you're going to want to place that propagation station where it's going to get ample light. You don't want to give it too much or too little. This is an important growing point for starting a new plant, and giving it too much or too little can burn or kill your plant.
Let's talk a little bit more about nutrients now. Like she said, if you do use rooting hormone, do not use nutrients. It'll cause nutrient lockout and burn and kill your plant. So do your research on that. But if you are going to use fertilizer, I would prefer using a liquid fertilizer over a slow-release fertilizer. Every plant is different, so do your research on the type of plant that you are propagating and see if it actually likes nutrients in its water or not.
And it's also good to know that not all plants can be propagated. There are some plants, like some annuals, and I know sunflowers cannot be propagated in water. So just make sure you're doing your research on the plant you're trying to propagate in order to make sure that it can be propagated. That's one thing I like about water propagation, is that I can see the progress of the roots as they grow. So you're nurturing it and you're giving it all of the things it needs. You have to give it to everything that it's going to need in order to form the roots to grow. And then you get to see the roots growing, which I think is amazing.
You get to watch the entire plant grow from
Yes.
start to finish. Another benefit of water propagation is the fact that if you get familiar with it and comfortable with it, you're going to have a ton of plants for free. You can water propagate however often or however little you want, depending on the plants you're using and whatnot. But the other benefit of water propagation that I feel is important to talk about is because there's no soil or solid medium for insects and pests to land on, it's really great for preventing those things from affecting the plant growth as it's trying to grow roots.
Remember to have patience with your plants. Some plants can take a long time to grow roots, and some it can take a week to grow roots. So it greatly varies on each plant. Whenever you go to put your plants in soil, remember to wait for them to have a lot of roots, because if they do not, they can get shock a lot easier. And when you do put them in soil and water them thoroughly and let them dry out. Do not continue watering them. You will just make the plant go into further shock and it will cause root rot and it will die. So don't do that.
Another thing that we need to emphasize about water propagation is if you're using nutrients, don't combine nutrients and hormones. We can't stress that enough, because it will cause nutrient lockout or burn on your plant.
If you do use nutrients, make sure you use a liquid fertilizer and not a slow-release fertilizer. It's just not as good for the plant. I mean, it can make the water be cloudy and just doesn't work as well for the plant. If you are going to use the liquid fertilizer, make sure that it has roots first, because a lot of plants, it can kill it, and it's just not good. Always do your research on everything. Make sure to research everything before you do it, so you know for sure that your plant's not going to die.
Another thing that you need to research is to make sure that your plant can be water propagated. There are some plants that cannot. Like I know some annuals and sunflowers cannot be water propagated.
And so at this point we have some examples of water propagation systems and water propagation that we can go ahead and show you guys. This is one that we purchased off of Amazon, and just you can definitely see the Tradescantia. They're really resilient plants. You can definitely tell that he's rooted very well. This Chinese lantern was planted at the same time, and he's not rooting near as quick. And again, this is a propagation station that was purchased. The next three that we're going to show you are all planted at the same time, and they're all in kind of different stages, so we're going to kind of walk you through that right now. And all three of these are homemade water propagation stations. This is an Aeschynanthus. You can definitely tell that its root growth is a lot slower than the other two plants that we've shown. They are not feathering out or webbing out, and that's definitely something that you want before you are trying to insert your plant into whatever medium you're going to use. The next plant that we have is the Alternanthera, and you can see that this is just a little seasoning jar that we cleaned out and converted. And he's doing very well. He has new growth, and that's another new sign that your plant is rooting well, is that it's putting off new growth. You can definitely tell that he is not rooting as fast as like the Tradescantia, but he's not rooting near as slow as the Aeschynanthus either.
Definitely not.
The last plant that we have is Creeping Charlie. You can definitely see that he's rooting a lot quicker than any of the other plants. And again, all three of these were planted at the same time. His roots are vining out, webbing out, they're reaching, and they are probably pretty close to being ready to be put into whatever medium we're going to use.
Almost there. All right, guys, I think that's all we have for you today.
We hope you enjoyed the video.
Please like, subscribe, and share with your planty friends.
Just kidding.